Hello, everyone. Welcome to Let's Talk, More Tools for an Inclusive Workforce. My name is Aja Miller, and I am an assistant editor at Stranger's Guide. We're an award-winning publication that commissions stories from local writers and photographers to build authentic portraits of a place. Learn more about what we do at strangersguide.com or look for our global ticket spread around. Today, I am very excited to introduce our speakers. Sage Quiamno is a nationally recognized DEI inclusion leader at Amazon. Previously, Sage was the CEO and co-founder of Future for Us, a community platform with over 20,000 members whose mission to advance women of color in the workplace through community, culture, and career development. Janice Omadeke is the founder and CEO of the Mentor Method, an enterprise platform transforming company culture through mentorship. As one of the first 100 Black women in the United States to raise $1 million in institutional VC funding, Janice has made her mark on the tech industry. Black Enterprise recognizes her as one of DC's top 5 Black women in tech, and she is the contributor for Fast Company and Harvard Business Review. Arlan Hamilton is the founder and managing partner of Backstage Capital, a venture capital firm dedicated to minimizing funding disparities in tech by investing in high-potential founders who are people of color, women, and/or LGBT. Started in 2015, Backstage has now raised $20 million and invested in nearly 200 startup companies. Arlan hosts the popular podcast, Your First Million, and in 2021 founded Runner, an operations and HR talent source for inclusive startups. Be sure to ask questions and engage with us during the app, and please join me in welcoming them to the stage.
Party people.
Good
10 a.m. on a Monday.
I know.
After
You all are
looking like that,
dedicated.
y'all are savage. Savage. Love it.
Good morning, everyone. You guys are champions for being here at 10 a.m. in the morning on a Monday. So give yourselves a round of applause. Thank you so much for being here. I'm incredibly excited to have this conversation with one of the most, 2 Black female entrepreneurs on this stage, and what an honor to be here today. But welcome to South by Southwest. Welcome to Austin, Texas, and thank you for joining this panel. It is a discussion around Let's Talk, More Tools, building an inclusive workforce. My name is Sage Ke'alohilani Quiamno. I am the head of diversity, equity, and inclusion for Amazon Prime Video and Studios. So thank you so much.
Go Sage.
Thank you. Before we get into the conversation, we want to get a pulse of the room. So by a show of hands, who are entrepreneurs or own a company in this room? All right.
Nice.
Wow, amazing. Next, who is C-suite or executive level leaders in companies? Wow, okay, pretty even. And then the last but not least, who are HR or diversity, equity, inclusion leaders in this room? Like myself.
Yeah.
Nice. Hard work.
The hard work, exactly. Amazing. So we really wanted to, gather an audience of folks who are trying to build, inclusive solutions for a workforce. And so we're excited to kick off the conversation. And I want to start off with Janice to my right. So Janice Omadeke is the CEO and founder of the Mentor Method.
Woo!
Yay. I like to call her the Queen of Austin because every time I name drop her here, everyone knows her. So I love it. And just to read off her bio, so she's the CEO and founder of the Mentor Method, an enterprise platform helping companies keep and develop diverse talent using the proven power of mentorship. Using the double bind algorithm, the Mentor Method is closing the opportunity gap in the workplace. She's been featured in Inc., in Entrepreneur Magazine, Austin Business Journal's Best CEO in 2001, Forbes Next 1000, and Forbes, etc. So everybody give a big round of applause for Janice. And to her right is Arlan Hamilton.
Woo! It's been a long weekend, y'all. I'm a little tired.
I love it.
Famously known as the managing partner of Backstage Capital, a venture capital seed fund investing exclusively in startups that are led by underrepresented founders. She is also the CEO and founder of Runner, a labor marketplace that connects startups with operations people looking for part-time work. She's graced the cover of Fast Company and has been featured recently in Time Magazine, yeah, exactly, TechCrunch, and Forbes, and more. So everybody give a big round of applause for these two powerhouse panelists.
Thank you.
All right, let's get into it. It's gonna be like Oprah Super Soul Sunday style, because we're family here. Starting with Janice, tell us about your background.
Yes,
Go.
so good morning. I'm Janice Omadeke. I'm CEO and founder of the Mentor Method. Sage already went into it, but I'll do it again, just in case you missed it. We're a software that helps companies build inclusive mentorship programs at scale without sacrificing impact in under an hour. We have customers including Amazon and the Department of Education, and they come to us for a few reasons. One, our algorithm matches based on chemistry, personality, values, skills, and industry to make sure that we have a holistic view of every employee so that everybody gets access to the right mentors. And then on top of that, we have data and reporting and engagement metrics so that you know that your programs are actually working, which is a little known thing that people forget about, but is very important when you're building these programs. In terms of my background, I'm Congolese American, first generation American, from the DC metro area, moved to Austin 4 years ago to continue building out the Mentor Method. My background is in graphic design. I was a corporate designer my entire career. Coming from DC, I guess it's a bit of a rite of passage to go through defense contracting. Had a top secret clearance, did that whole thing in a skiff, and every time I signed up for a corporate mentorship program, I was just matched to the only woman or black person that had time. And that was the basis of facilitating those matches, not where I wanted to go in my career, not the contributions I was making to the company's bottom line, which I was consistently, but really just age, race, and gender. And so I became the youngest manager at PwC's marketing and sales division, and during that time, the creative director asked me to build a mentorship program for over 150 people, and we were all remote at this time. So this was in the before days, by the way. And so, I'm already working a 60-hour week, already a top performer, and trying to figure out how to not repeat the same issues I faced in corporate mentorship. I knew would take another 70 hours a week that I just didn't have. So looked online at some of the other options out there, and they were really propagating the same issue. So I rolled up my sleeves, used my background in product and graphic design, and built the first iteration of the Mentor Method, really because my team needed it, and I wanted to make sure that we were matching people equitably. Could not stop thinking about it. And we see a lot of business owners in the room, so I know you all know what that feels like when you're up at 1 a.m. excited to think about the company name or how big you could take this. So started working on it nights and weekends, and then left that very, very comfortable management consulting job.
She's getting paid, that's what she's trying to say.
Listen, quite well. But left that job in 2018, moved to Austin for the Mass Challenge Accelerator, one of the top 20 in the country, placed gold, ended up staying here in Austin, continuing to build out an incredible team that we have here. And yeah, the rest is history. Arlan, so this is very exciting for me right now. I'm not even sure how the pictures are going to look. I feel like they're going to look like the first day of school for kindergarten, because I'm super excited. Arlan was our very first check, an investor, period.
Yes, first check.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you for letting us invest.
Well, thank you for seeing me in the power of the Mentor Method. And so, to go from driving my 2011 Nissan Versa from DC to here with 10 grand in one suitcase, to now being on the stage as a featured panelist with a dear friend and one of my mentors and the most prolific business owners of our time, it just really means a lot to me.
Arlan.
I don't know how to follow that. Yeah, so I'm the managing partner and the founder of Backstage Capital, and That's the fund we use to invest in Janice's company. We've invested in nearly 200 companies, started from scratch in 2015 after being suffering from housing and food insecurity for most of my life. And now we've raised millions, we've deployed millions, we've had a million good times. I think that's the most important thing I've learned this weekend is like, it doesn't matter what number there is. And there's so many songs that say this, I should have known, but like, it's just all about the connections made. And I was in a room yesterday with several of our portfolio company founders and just realizing, you know, what was it, 7 years ago? I was sleeping in a car to attend South by, and hopefully, didn't have a badge, of course, didn't have a place to live, but slept in a rental car with my mother to try to convince people to invest in me so that I can invest in you and others, right? And to then see that room, you know? So that's just, it's just been, I don't know, maybe it's my turning 41, I don't know, I just feel very accomplished and content. Like, you know, we have people in every direction saying things about our lives and saying what we're doing and how could you not get that far with what you had, all of that, none of that matters. I think everybody should every day kind of take stock of what lives they've touched, what they've meant to people, who they connected to each other, and that's all the currency we need. That's it, you know? So I've been thinking a lot about that this weekend, and in September of last year, I launched Runner. So that's at hirerunner.co. That's matching Runner, yeah. We got Runner in the house. We got Backstage in the house. And that's matching fractional operations talent with inclusive companies of all sizes. And yeah, we've just been having the best time the last 6.5 months, just going in on this product, and we've already started matching people from all over the country to each other. And Mentor Method uses it. They're a customer.
We do. It's
yeah,
great.
Talk a little bit about
register.
Runner. What do you like about it?
So a few things that I like about Runner. One, you built it. So
Whoop, whoop.
no, but I say that not just out of loyalty, but because you have seen so many entrepreneurs build businesses. You know what it takes to build a business, and so the onboarding process, how you're connected to these potential employees, you really see that you understand the CEO and C-suite issues. You know, we don't have a lot of time. Sometimes when you're growing your company, you don't have a lot of budget, and you just need to meet the top candidates that'll help you get what you need done, that'll align with your company culture, and just seamlessly integrate. And we've seen that time and time again with the team members that we've brought on board by using Runner.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I mean, that's all that team. Like, that's, you know, it does come from seeing, we've invested in nearly 200 companies, so I had to see 10,000 or so to do that, pain point after pain point, and it just came up right after funding, or right alongside funding. The next question was, can you help us find talent? And a lot of times, operations talent kind of gets left behind because if you have limited amount of money and time, you're just trying to find that great coder, that person who's going to help you, you know, with your finances, all of that. But you can have, with a 2-person team, you can have a fractional chief of staff or executive assistant who will then help you grow to become that 10-person team, and so on and so on. So I love that. Also, so until I was 35, I didn't make more than $20,000 a year in any given year, and that would have been an amazing year for me to get $20,000. I still remember it, and it was in my early 20s that I got that. So I know what it's like to try to find work, because I looked for work constantly, and it was a lot of times it was I didn't have the right wardrobe, and I couldn't afford to go get, you know, even an outfit to start the job, or I didn't have an address, and I couldn't do this or that. And so I just know, like, how impactful being at somebody's assistant is and helping them kind of thrive, and that's what I did for most of my life, because that's when I could get my foot in the door. So to be able to do that for dozens and then hundreds and then thousands of people over the next few years, that's going to be exciting. It's going to be Backstage 2.0, right? Yeah. So if you have both of those things going at the same time, if by the end of this year, hundreds of people are able to pay their rent because they can plug into an inclusive company, self-identifying, inclusive company, and help them grow, I don't know anything better than that, just being able to do that.
Thank you so much, Arlan. And you describe exactly the challenge that you see in the marketplace, right? And what people are facing, what companies are facing is hiring and retaining talent, as what Mentor Method does too. And just a little background, I actually snuck into a conference 3 years ago to meet Arlan Hamilton. I also was broke at that time, and it was amazing to meet her. So if you're talking about getting to people and being connected to leaders, this is our backstory.
Yeah, you did it. You did what I did in my book. You found your way into the room. You wrote your own name on the name tag.
It was amazing. And so
one of my favorite pictures in the world too, by the way, is just this pure joy of. It's just the best picture.
So I hope you guys get to talk to Arlan after this discussion. I had the same moment I found on Twitter. It's amazing. So the next question I really want to dive into is mentorship, Janice. In your recent Fast Company article, you mentioned that the shift to virtual work and employees becoming increasingly mindful of their priorities. For instance, at Amazon, a lot of our historically marginalized talent and employees are looking for career advancement. And mentorship is a critical a way of career development.
Absolutely.
And so I just want to know, how does mentorship help cross-team connection in an evolving workplace?
Yeah, I'll use my example from when I was working in management consulting. So as I mentioned before, I was there for 4 years, and this team was completely remote. So I was based in DC. I had team members in Florida, South Carolina, Denver, California, and we all had the same mission of supporting this marketing and sales function. And this was my first foray into this virtual workforce where I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. I can get up at 7, work in sweatpants, and still outperform my peers. This is perfect. This is exactly the way I like my work to be. But what I realized when I was a manager during this time frame was that you have to be very intentional about connecting people and being intentional about how you learn about everyone. Because it can be really easy to just say, okay, hi, good morning, weekly team meeting, and then not talk to anyone for a week, sometimes because you're so focused on your to-do list and everything that you need to accomplish. So when you look at mentorship, it's a phenomenal way to build these meaningful connections that create this flywheel of growth for everybody involved. Mentors end up getting promoted 5 times faster. Mentees are promoted 6 times faster just by getting connected in a formal mentorship program. And that really speaks to the power of transferring institutional knowledge, that diversity of experience and thought, and having that structured process allows you to know that there's a start and an end date. You're able to build these meaningful relationships with intention, and you have this guided process so that you know what to do every step of the way, and it doesn't become transactional or awkward. But when we think about companies in this fragmented space, what a lot of people forget is that the Great Resignation is impacting everyone, including HR teams. 22 million people quit their jobs last year. That includes people on HR and diversity and inclusion and people operations teams as well. So these individuals are responsible for retaining hundreds of thousands of employees while their teams are maybe cut in half or a quarter, or maybe their budgets aren't as expansive as they'd like. So tools like mentorship and like the mentor method are helpful to allow these companies to still deliver top-tier experiences to the employees they have, and recognize that mentorship helps you keep the talent you have, which is way more cost-effective than trying to replace them if they leave due to a lack of mentorship.
Amazing. And to piggyback off of that, going into, Arlan, you talked about the challenges that you've seen in your recent TechCrunch article. Entrepreneurs approach you usually to raise capital or to hire people on teams. I know you went into, who your customer is and what, challenges they're facing, but tell us a little bit more about how you're matching new talent and companies together.
Yeah, so through network effects, we're able to attract a lot of people. So without any paid advertising, we were able to get 1,500 people to apply, kind of below the radar, just to apply. And then we take them through several layers of vetting. And I think part of what makes Runner special is that we could quite easily take those 1,500 people, slap them onto an app, and say, go ahead and get matched, and we'll kind of take care of what doesn't work out. We'll do maintenance on it rather than trying to go ahead of it. But what we do is we make sure that every single interview that happens is with two people, at least like two people on our team, and we get to understand not just what they can do, where they've worked, what school they might have gone to. I don't even know if we asked that question because I simply don't care what school you went to. But what do you want out of life? And what do you want to be spending the hours of your life impacting and working on? And so we're able to do that. We have the same conversations with customers. And by doing that and matching what they're working on, there's just been so much organic just excitement about, not only do I get to have Runner help me price my work appropriately, not only do we help them find work easier than if they had to go out on their own and find it, but they're waking up every day and working on something that means something to them. It's like ownership, in a lot of ways, and very literally, each of our runners will have ownership in Runner, as opposed to many sort of gig work startups would do.
Amazing. And for you two, I know you have you have built companies who are, creating a more inclusive workforce. You're creating a solution, right? On the hiring side and on, the leader side internally within a company. We're going to move into D&I. We're talking a lot about inclusive tools and building inclusivity. So how is, when workplaces build an inclusive team, Janice, and the community that embraces D&I, they see it increases innovation and revenue. According to the Harvard Business Review study, what are some of the first steps organizations can do to advance workplace diversity or inclusive teams?
I would encourage them to be entrepreneurial in their approach to be diverse and inclusive. This drives me insane. So, companies are losing a significant amount of underrepresented professionals. We all know this. If you're in the crowd, you understand it's most likely a part of your role and function. If a company was losing millions of customers at any given moment, you better believe the CEO, everybody in the C-suite, regardless if you were in your first day of your internship, if you had some sort of transferable skill that the company could leverage to retain their customers, there would be no expense that would be too big. There would be no amount of time that would be too extensive. There would be no amount of resourcing that wouldn't be thought of to help them solve the issue of why they were losing customers. Yet, when it comes to thinking about how you're keeping your employees, companies are just like, well, we did a brown bag lunch. I don't know what you want from me anymore. Like, you have your foosball table and your coffee. What? And if they ever said that to a customer, the board would be on their back so quickly, and they would never do that because they have that ownership and responsibility. So what I encourage companies to do is get entrepreneurial in your approach to how you keep your talent. As a founder, and I've learned from the best, obviously, it's important to be curious about your customer. What are they looking at now? What are they interested in? Where are they transitioning? What are the current trends? What do they actually care about? Why are they coming to you versus anywhere else? And if companies start having that same curiosity and entrepreneurial approach to understanding their employees, where do you want to go? How do you learn? How many children do you have? What is your student loan ratio compared to what you're getting paid? Because those things impact the way that you show up to work. And it's just the right thing to do. You're being a human, you're engaging your employees, and you'll get so much more from them if you're able to just be curious about them. That then opens up a door for you to really look at, your roster, if you will, of your employees and see across demographics, socioeconomic standing, location, stage of life, where you need to tap in and how else you can invest in your employees. And that's when you start to see diversity and inclusion really be powerful, when it's intentional, tied to the company's bottom line, and just strategic. And yeah, like I said before, we're still settling for stale coffee and bagels versus really investing the way that we should.
I can't.
Not wrong.
Thank you, Janice.
Thank you.
I know, calling it out for what it is, bringing awareness to that. And, on the same note, Arlan, but, we're talking about the workforce, and 63% of millennials say that their leadership skills are not being fully developed. Arlan, I know you mentor a lot of startup companies, are scaling, growing, there's many challenges. How can companies ensure that they are developing underrepresented talent?
I think starting as early as you can, making that a priority. So many people scramble, and I mean everyone, like not just white people, or men, or whatever category we're going to put. I mean, everyone struggles at the beginning because, again, you're just trying to, you're barely getting by. It's an exciting time, but it is a rock time. It's a time it's an uncertain time. But as Janice says, it's so important that retention is so important, and retention starts with thinking it through, strategizing early. So making it a priority once again, yeah. And I think also thinking about, like, how can you attract that talent if you don't represent that talent, if you don't intentionally, as each month and each year goes by, if you don't have that represented where you are, how are people going to know that they belong there if they don't see themselves there, if they don't see a diverse workplace when they're looking at your website, or if they're going to an event, or they're just looking at who's running things? And if you're not able to do that yourself, there are a lot of people who you can pay to help you do that. That's their job. That's their intention. You can sign up with Mentor Method and kind of go from there. And Sage, you do a lot of work. I don't even know if we did your intro, because you do a lot of work in this space. You talk to so many founders and so many companies. And, I'd love to hear a little bit about what you think of that same question.
Yeah, just talking to you, so I was a former founder of Future for Us, and it's a community for women of color professionals. We also did D&I consulting for about 12 companies in Seattle, Washington. So we're talking about like the probably top 5 tech companies. And that was precisely when we had our survey results, was that a lot of historically marginalized employees felt there's a gap, there's a leadership gap that's missing. And we're not getting to the leadership roles or the pay that we're here for. And so with us, especially when COVID, pandemic, right, there's a lot of societal situations and events that have happened. And now larger companies like Amazon are putting it on their company page, right, publicly. Here are our goals. Here are our metrics. This is how we are creating diversity, equity, inclusion, everything from hiring, retaining talent. And so that's kind of where, if you are a leader at a company, setting those publicly external company goals, what are the specific metrics? Thanks to the Black Lives Matter movement, we were able to really, how do we invest in Black leaders? And it's a really important discussion. And moving into it too, I want to make sure we get into your questions, because that's what we're about here. Last question. What is your predictions for the future of work? And we can start off with Janice.
This is my favorite topic. I literally wake up thinking about this because it's exciting. Honestly, the future of work keeps evolving on a monthly basis, and it's phenomenal to see. I think we will continue to see this be an employees market, meaning that what employees want from their employers, what the way in which people return to work or don't return to work will really be dependent upon how your company culture is set up and how your employees identify with not just their salary or the free desk that you got them in 2020, but really,
I love this very sweet shade that Janice does.
It is a superpower. No, but I mean, I think it's important to, for corporations to just recognize and still maintain that this is an employee's market and that we really drive the outcomes for these corporations and for companies to now adapt. You know, we work with some of the largest companies in the world, Amazon, Department of Education, SAIC, Slalom, and others, and they have been around for hundreds of years, most of these companies. So what I predict is we'll start to see a shift in tide and shift in the direction that these companies sort of built their foundation on to make sure that they're adapting to the way in which people need to work now. And my prediction is that the companies that are mentoring, sponsoring, advocating, promoting, starting to give HR, people ops, and diversity and inclusion teams the budgets that they need and start aligning those roles into operations and really start quantifying the value that they're bringing through retention. I mean, some of our customers are able to reduce their employee churn by 5%. That equates to over $117 million annually for some of these companies. That's huge.
Wow.
That's a big impact on their margin. So as companies start to recognize that this impacts their bottom line in terms of talent and retention, I think we'll start to see these departments get aligned to either finance or operations and start to be taken more seriously. I also think that these ESG requirements for public companies, that social piece, for the governance will be really important. They're tracking promotions, they're tracking diversity and inclusion, and so I predict that companies will start taking it more seriously as their boards recognize that their growth is dependent upon it. The last piece I would say is I think we're all going to continue to be more compassionate towards one another, recognizing that work is a critical part of our lives. We spend the majority of our lives at work, but I think we'll also see people want to engage in more peer-to-peer mentorship, group mentorship, and continue to want to actually get to know everyone as people, and then see how our passions, superpowers, and strengths align to help the companies that we work for become even better. And I think that's just going to create just another flywheel of innovation. I'm really excited to see what's coming out in the market right now with Future of Work, Mentor Method included, of course, and I think we're just going to start to see more intentional innovation on how you can maximize people's productivity and potential.
Yes. And then Arlan, same question. What are your predictions for the future of work?
I think it's going to be a little bit of a throwback to go forward. So I think that co-working is going to have a real big comeback, and it's going to be, a lot of physical locations had to shut down with COVID, and now they're going to come back, and so there are people going back into the office, of course, but I think they're going to see around the country and around the world, even large companies kind of having hybrid mixed buildings with other companies, because people are they're gonna need a little bit more stimuli to stick around and to have a little bit of like that camaraderie that we all got on Zoom and other virtual. And I just kind of see that somehow. I see it being like these niche places too, and places that are built for certain communities just really thriving in person, or having pop-ups and different things like that. I think that's going to be, rather than being a big event that happens, I think it's going to be the norm. I also think that it might seem scary to larger companies, and probably even to smaller companies. I think you're going to have a lot of your employees doing side hustles, and not doing them in the dark, and not doing them on the side and scared, but like really making that part of what is even offered. You know, I love a good side hustle with anybody at Backstage or Runner, because it's kind of more autonomy and more ownership, and like we saw in 2020, like the rug can be pulled from under you like that. And before 2020 at Backstage, we had 3 rounds of layoffs. And it's like a heartbreaking thing to do, and to know that, like to your point, Janice, about it being an employee market, a person's own entrepreneurship is the competition to these bigger companies. So instead of fighting that and saying, I hope we don't have this leaky bucket where really talented people leave, I think they're going to have to start figuring out how to encourage it, and to say, stay with us, please, and let's retain your talent, but also go and do the thing. Or if you're an artist, go be the artist, you know. And in that same vein, a little bit different though, I think we're going to start seeing, and if we don't start seeing it soon, I'm going to try to make it happen. I think we're going to start seeing, and I hope we do, a lot of people across a lot of industries starting to figure out how to take sabbaticals and come back. And I think Runner could be really interesting for this. I think that we talked about this at Runner, maternity leave, paternity leave, sabbaticals, where you can plug in somebody from Runner, or if, in different places, there's really great companies that do this across the board. But imagine, I just know for myself, I'm sure there's some song I could quote, but I can't think of it fast enough. I'm not that fast this morning. But like a free bird, or free bird or something. But I just don't see myself somewhere for 10, 20, 30 years and being stimulated enough to stay. But if I knew that, like, every 3 years I could go away for 6 months and find myself, I might just come back to you, I might just bring that person I found back to the company. Yeah. And so I think you're going to see that over the next 5 years. You're going to see people, and I hope that Runner has a big role to play there. Yeah.
Amazing. Everybody give a big round of applause for our two speakers.
Thanks. Thank you.
And now, a part of this panel, we're going to take some questions.
They're here. They're written on the... You have a couple. Yeah, because we don't have them.
All right. So, I'm over here like, let me put my glasses on.
Do you want us to read, Sage?
No, I got it.
Okay.
So, Arlan, any plan to expand Runner to Canada?
Any plans to expand Runner to Canada? Yes, the plans are there for sure. We definitely have a lot of requests for Canada, for Latin America, other parts of the world. We are starting something from scratch that's heavy compliance, right? Or compliance heavy. And so we are first going to get into all 50 states. I think we're in 31 right now in the first 6 months, which is incredible. So by the end of the year, I would imagine we'd be in all 50 states. And at the same time thinking through where do we go next. With other HR and payroll platforms like Deal and Remote and Oyster and Papaya and all those in the same, I'm going to give them all the same shout out. I think that helps us. 3 years ago when we tried to hire at Backstage people in England, we didn't try, we succeeded, but we hired people in England. It took us like months to set that up. And now there's these other companies that can do it in a matter of hours. And so I think that's going to help us. Instead of us trying to reinvent that wheel, we will just plug in with partnerships as we've done. Oyster's been a great partner with us. So I think you're going to see it sooner than later. But the first thing we want to do, just like with Backstage, we got the same requests from other countries. The first thing we want to do is say, let's not overlook St. Louis. Let's not overlook Des Moines. Let's not overlook Atlanta and, everywhere across the country. And I hope within the next 12 months, we're in, at least one more country.
Amazing. In the audience, who's outside of the U.S.?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
Very good.
Perfect. I think the next question. I work with a lot of companies who think customer needs and employees need mutually exclusive. How can I explain that happy employee equals to happy customer? I think, Janice, I think that's a pretty good question for you.
Well, my first thought is, of course, that's the most obvious math solution I think I've ever seen outside of 2 + 2 = 4. I'm trying not to chuckle on stage, but...
Go ahead and chuckle, girl. We're all family.
Thanks, Arlan. Okay, I'm just rereading the question. Bear with me. Okay, they're not mutually exclusive. If you want to maximize the power of your employees, you need to empower them and give them space to play, feel seen, and build that psychological safety so that they can bring their best selves to work. And this question is throwing me a little bit because
it's so obvious and simple.
So obvious.
But what they're saying is that their employer doesn't find that to be obvious.
Yeah, and I'm so sorry. Depending on your role, we are hiring across product, engineering, and marketing.
Talk to Janice.
So
Anonymous,
feel free to reach out.
Get in touch.
Yeah, feel free to reach out. Janice at thementormethod.com. We do have a superior culture, and I think that's part of the reason why that's making my brain hurt at the thought, because I am, as CEO and founder, I am obsessed with making sure that my phenomenal team is as situated and taken care of as humanly possible. I literally wake up and I'm like, all right, universe, empower the team, help me to be the best possible leader by making sure that they feel seen, heard, and respected by me, and that I'm practicing the gratitude that I feel for them on a daily basis, but externally showing that, right? And I think, we have the first Friday of every month off for a mental health day. We do a $150 per month mental health stipend for people to leverage, whether it's rock climbing, one of our BDRs, Jed, prefers rock climbing, or standard therapy. It doesn't matter. It's just about making sure that your employees recognize that gratitude that you have for them, because none of us would be up here without phenomenal team members. And that's how you can build a happy workforce and happy employees. But again, I think it also just goes back to what I was saying before about being curious and really seeking to understand the way that you would seek to understand any top tier account that you're going after.
That's a great point. And just, Arlan touched upon this, Janice, you touched upon this about, the happy employee. And, now we have a question about 4-day work weeks. What are your thoughts on 4-day work weeks? Flexible scheduling and whatnot. So what is your thoughts?
I'd love to take this one or start this one off. I love a 4-day work week. We have a 4-day work week at Backstage. We started that in August. Was it August 2020 or last August? I can't remember which one it was, but I think it was August 2020 that we started a 4-day work week. And Kelly hadn't started yet. And it really was born out of so we have that. I will say, I'll talk about why we don't have it yet at Runner, right? But it was born out of just looking at the Backstage team, and to your point, Sage, about how none of this, people talk about my schedule and how do you do what you do, none of it could be done without the team. Right. Nobody, I have an entire chapter in my book that is available for free back there, I think. I have an entire chapter that's called there's no such thing as self-made. Yeah. So, that's going back to the last question, but it's I was looking at my team, and I think of my team a little bit, I think Mark Cuban should pay me to promote him, because I talk about him so much now. I don't know what's come over me. We have a business relationship, but when he started with the Mavericks, he started doing things he would lavish them with gifts, and he would make them really comfortable, and he would kind of meet them at their price point, all of that, and people thought he was crazy. And then he turned that organization, I don't know what he did, doubled, tripled it. I look at our teams like the MVP now, especially now that I've even been told that in kind of in a mentorship kind of capacity. But I look at it as what do you need for me to keep you here? Because I wouldn't be anything without you. I'm not going to let an unforced error make you leave. If you want to go, I want to be the first person who catalyzes you to what you want to do next. But if you want to stay and it's a matter of you need childcare, or you need a day off so that you can go and do all the chores on the weekday because you can't do them on the weekend, please, by all means. So a 4-day week has just I think it's transformed Backstage. Now at Runner, we're 6.5 months old, and we're kind of finding our footing, and Backstage is 7 years old, or 6.5 years old. So we're finding our footing, but it's another one of my goals to this year, find a way to be able to make a 4-day week work without it becoming a 5-day week that's compressed into 4 days. Because sometimes you can do things that they seem like they're a good idea, and then you're just adding pressure to your team. I was at this event, and I was speaking. I was kind of, brought in and paid to speak there. And it was all of these major C-suite people. And there was a guy who spoke, and he said that he was being, vulnerable and everything. He was being real transparent. He said that he, on a Zoom call, told his whole team, the women at our company are just amazingly efficient and incredible, and they kind of make this company. And everybody was applauding it, and it was awesome. And then a woman on the team pulled him to the side afterward, and she said, "Do you know what happens, though? You give us more work because we can do it in the same amount of time as men." And so the idea, we have to make sure that we match the idea, a good idea, with good execution. And a lot of that comes with team members being honest with you. And I'm glad that I have a lot of honest team members who tell me what I'm doing wrong. You know, like it's important for us to cultivate that. But I love a 4-day work week. Was there another part of that question? No. 4-day work week,
Yep.
perks, keeping it real. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. And the next question is for Janice. Could you describe how the mentor method navigated protected categories and government culture with the Department of Education?
Sure. So with the Department of Education, they're leveraging us for their Careers Pathways initiative, which is matching underrepresented students in their junior and senior year of high school to mentors to help them see multiple pathways to creating wealth. We recognize that college is not the only way. I know for me growing up, it was, congratulations, you're in kindergarten. Now, where are you going to college? Like, that was really kind of the life plan. But as we see now, there are multiple walks of life, there are multiple experiences that can help you build a very well-rounded and fulfilling life. And so they're leveraging the mentor method to ensure that students from traditionally low-income housing are matched to the right mentors so that they can see what they can become and recognize that they don't need to fit into one very niche category of a professional. Instead, everybody can be a professional depending on the path that you'd like to have. And it's been very rewarding. We're very excited about it.
Awesome. Thank you for explaining that. And then I wouldn't want to, I want to do like a last question here.
I like Daniel's question.
Which
Oh,
one?
I'm sorry. I do like Daniel's question, but I like Daniel's other question, the top one.
I know, these are really good questions.
The top one. Cause
The top question right here.
Yeah.
And so as a regular employee,
The second one.
we're talking, okay.
Yeah.
So we're talking about retention at big companies. What about small companies that are growing? And then,
And what is most resonant?
what is the most resonant for these
these
groups?
groups.
So you guys,
And the reason I like that is because I don't think that people know this much, but 78% of runners' customers have 1 to 10 employees total.
Wow.
And so to be able to plug in from our incredibly diverse talent pool is one way. That's part of it, right? It's part of it being like we have people from all over, all walks of life, all backgrounds, all aspirations. And what I said earlier is like I think it has to start as early as possible. And as early as possible is the first day. And it's not always easy to do that. And that's why I'm in the business of creating tools to solve problems that I talk about, right? I'm not just saying there's a problem. I'm in the business of trying to solve some of that or at least help some of it. So that's why I'm excited about Hire Runner. You can go to hirerunner.co, sign up. The person who has a weird boss who doesn't think that employees should be happy or it doesn't matter, go to hirerunner.co too. Janice and I will fight over you.
Yeah.
I think that it has to start small because how often have we seen these companies implode that are much bigger and you're like, they got tens of millions of dollars raised or $100 million raised, but they couldn't figure out company culture because it's hard. It's hard to figure out. It is a very difficult thing. And if you wait too long, it's almost like the toothpaste that can't go back into the tube. You have to start with the hard work now. And I said that from deep experience. You have to start with it now.
May I add to that?
yeah, of course.
I would also say, adding on to what Arlan said, when you're building out that first line leader, right, your first bench. So with the mentor method, we have a phenomenal head of operations, Joseph Kopser. You can see him in the bright orange UT hat. I would not be up on this stage without him, to be completely honest. And he helped me be really intentional about how we were thinking about our head of sales. We have a phenomenal VP of engineering that I think is in the back of the room as well. And we have a phenomenal head of marketing. But for me, when we were hiring, we were really intentional about going strategic and thinking about values first. So that if I can't be in the room because I'm fundraising or up on a panel or something else, I feel better knowing that we all have that same common thread of values so that if they're interacting with a customer, another member of our team or each other, that there's that continuity and knowing that, we'll continue scaling and growing to, several hundred and potentially several thousand employees. That's very important because they will then be the walking embodiment of the values that I thought about, in 2018 when I moved here, and then they'll be able to hire people that align to those. And when you're a small company, your biggest resource is time and your people. So you want to make sure that your people understand where you want to go and that they're really the embodiment of that direction, so that when you do become a 100-person or 1,000-person team, it doesn't go off the rails.
Amazing. By a show of the hands, who's working at a small company or a startup?
Nice.
Okay, great. And who's at a large company? Great. Awesome. And
60, 40?
So you're 60-40, 60-40. To wrap this up, we want to ask these phenomenal entrepreneurs, what is the ask of these people here? What is the ask from the audience members for you?
Good question.
Oh, I'll start. I would say go to hirerunner.co. Check us out on both sides of the marketplace. Very exciting. We have people from both teams here backstage and Runner. Talk to somebody about it. Ask questions. Grab a book if you want. It's free because I want people to know the story so that they can be inspired by it. And go to arlansacademy.com. It's free curriculum. It's about $4,000 worth of free courses for entrepreneurs and people that work at companies. And share that with people. I have all kinds of asks in my life, but I think the way I started is how I'm going to finish. Is I just have a lot of gratitude right now, so I just want to give as much as possible.
Thank you, Arlan.
Okay, show of hands, who here has benefited from a mentor? Who's had one in their lives? Basically everyone in this room. So you all understand the importance of mentorship. You understand that when it's done right, it helps you be here, right? And maximizing your full potential. Well, let's all just take a moment and recognize that there are millions of professionals out there that have not been as fortunate as we are to have impactful mentors. Therefore, there is literally a piece inside of them that is dormant, waiting for this one chance encounter to help them tap into who they really are and that phenomenal leader that they can be. So I would encourage you, if you're working at a company with 1,000 employees or greater, even if the company culture is great and you love that free coffee and bagel that you get every morning, there's still a lot of work to be done. The mentor method helps companies be more efficient and more intentional with the way in which they're fostering connections for their employees. And you just never know. The person that you're on the weekly stand-up with over Zoom might be one of those people that has that fire that's just waiting to be ignited with that right mentor. They just haven't had it yet. So I would encourage you to be a phenomenal ally, phenomenal leader, and an inclusive leader by introducing the mentor method to where you work or your colleagues. You can do so by sending me an email, Janice, Janice, at thementormethod.com. I also live primarily on LinkedIn, so feel free to send me a message there. Or you can visit our website, thementormethod.com, and we look forward to supporting you all on your journeys.
Amazing, you two. I have 3 asks. Be a customer. Be a customer for their companies. 2, follow them on social media and go onto their website. And then 3, hire them to speak at your companies. Pay and hire them to speak at your companies. So everybody, let's give a big round of applause, and we're going to close it up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wonderful job, Sage. Wonderful
Yes.
job. Really great job.
Sage. Yeah, let's clap for Sage as well.
Yeah.
Trying.
We're going to hang out for a few minutes after?
Yeah.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
we're going to hang out for a few minutes. If you would like to meet Arlan and Janice, feel free to do so and grab a book on your way out, too.
Yeah.